My name is Benjamin Glover, and welcome back to Toga Talks. Today I'm here with Adam Israel, political contributor and co-host of the Saratoga podcast. Today we will talk about an article by Andrew Waite, who is a journalist for the Daily Gazette, regarding Sharon Dominguez, a candidate for Saratoga Springs City School District Board of Education. Adam, do you want to start with your first thoughts?
Yeah, so here are my first thoughts. My first thoughts are, Benjamin, I'm really impressed. You're a young man, and I want to talk about a little bit why I came on the show today. You're 15 years old, correct?
That's correct.
And at 15 years old, you've got to sit in the seat of a deputy commissioner's office for a city council meeting, correct?
That was pretty fun, yeah. A few times.
Yeah, congratulations. That's quite an honor, and I think you deserved it. Also at 15, you were asked not to be part of the Democratic committee.
Oh, good Lord.
Because of this podcast. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The interim chair of the Democratic committee felt that it was a conflict of interest for me to be running a local podcast and work with the communications subcommittee at the Democratic committee. So yes, Adam, that's correct.
All right. Well, I think at 15, you throw a little weight around, which is impressive. So anyway, talking about this article, I'm glad you had me on to talk about it, because a big issue I have is with journalism, both at the national level and local level, is journalistic integrity and when it crosses into propaganda. I think we see at the national level on both stations like Fox and MSNBC. It really is opinions, not news, but it's posed as news. We saw what happened with Tucker Carlson. And I think at the local level, our newspapers can really distort the facts to fit a narrative, especially when it comes to candidates who have more right-leaning or conservative views. And I think what this is exactly what this piece is. It's still unsure if this is actually an article or an opinion piece. I think if you ask the Gazette, they would say it was an opinion piece. It's not, but it's not clear. It's written very much like to see an article. And you even asked the reporter beyond. Do you want to talk to that at all?
Yeah, so Togo Talks has reached out to Andrew Waite, the author of this article. He initially expressed amiability to the idea of coming on for an interview. However, informed me that he is too busy with the current limo trial going on in Scholarly here in the Capital Region. So he informed me that he did not wish to come on the podcast due to that conflict. And I offered
some
different times and dates, but he believed he was too busy in the upcoming. On top of that, I have invited some folks who are commenting on Facebook regarding the article, people who have reposted the article with messages of support for the article's message, and they have all either failed to respond or declined an interview.
Yeah, right. So I think it's point. I would really like a counterpoint on this, because I think it's important to be balanced. This is what I'm preaching here, is that a balance in the way we distribute news and information. But you tried, and nobody would accept. And I think there's a lot to say behind that. But with all that being said, you want to jump into the article?
Yeah, so we can actually talk about the specific points of the article here. The article is relating to Dominguez's relationship with certain parents groups in the past, and how it influenced her run for the board. So I would actually like to, before we get into the very specifics, because you've shared your first reactions, I'd like to share another first reaction from a local comedian, local celebrity, possible future mayor, Jack Flash, on his thoughts about the article. It reads, "The Battle of Saratoga 2, under dirty money, dirty tricks, dirty hands, evil monkey network is exposed. The county's right-wing lemmings go into full butthurt mode after seeing this piece, which exposes not only the disingenuous candidacy by a local school board hopeful, but more importantly, the long reach of the national culture wars into our landscape here at the SPA." That's with 4 A's. Reporter Andrew Waite gives an increasingly rare example of how proper journalism is done, laying out both the backstory of this moral crusade to infiltrate and take over school boards, but also naming local bad actors, organizations, and media properties that all play the loyal soldier role in service to that very cabal. And he does that with incontrovertible facts and a proper connecting of the dots. The right's reaction to this exposure of the rot: kill the messenger and deny the facts, of course. But Saratoga Flash News, as this town's arbiter, the fair and balanced, is here to tell you this. It is dead on, and this community is well served by it. In fact, we ourselves feel a rejuvenating call to now get back on the same horse ourselves. We apologize for taking a breather. That's a direct quote from Jack Flash on his news, his satirical Facebook page, Flash News, Saratoga Flash News.
Yeah,
so,
and
Adam,
you know
can
what?
you share your reactions to that reaction?
Yeah, I lost you a little bit. I lost you a little bit there because I was getting a call out. But essentially, does he say this is actual? Does he say this is actual journalism?
Yeah, direct quote here. Andrew Waite gives an increasingly example of how proper journalism is done.
All right. So he's saying this is actually journalism and not an opinion piece, which is interesting because I think factually it is not journalism. The second thing is that this is idea of painting this cabal of shadowy figures and deep money that is flowing into our local school boards and our local city to affect elections. The first thing, and we'll go through how this article does not connect any of those dots, but the first thing is, even if there is, I mean, where is this big money? Because this city is run by Democrats. The school board is the majority of Democrats. So this big, this alleged big money meeting,
Adam,
monies.
I have to give you a clarification there that the school board is officially nonpartisan, and none of the members who are on the school board now have been officially endorsed by any party. So I want to clarify there.
I want to clarify their voter registrations.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah.
And I also want to clarify that
I can't verify that if that's true or not, but
you can later on, right? We'll do a little homework and verify because it is true.
Yeah.
But what you can verify, what is fact, is that 3 board members or 3 candidates did go to the local Democratic committee and ask for $1,000. Is that correct?
No, Tony Crackler himself went representing all 3 of them, but they weren't all 3 present. That is correct. Tony Crackler has solicited a donation in representing the joint ticket for, I believe, $1,000 from technically the state Democratic committee for mailers, which have now allegedly gone out. I have not verified if the mailers that have gone out from the Democratic committee are the same ones that were requested and if those were actually granted, but
okay. All right. Well, so, the viewers know that. So do you want to bring up specific points in this article? Would you like me to?
I'd love you to, because I'd really like to hear your thoughts and how you read the article yourself, your kind of thought process.
All right. So it talks about, it starts off talking about Sharon's connection to this big money cabal conservative takeover. Let's see where it says here. Sharon Dominguez was at a meeting on October 21st.
Sorry, folks, we lost Adam for a second. Give him a second to come back. Yeah. He's having a little bit of technical issues. Hi, Adam. Welcome back. Would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. I was
no worries.
getting some phone calls there. But it starts off about this meeting on October 28th, 2021. It states how Ms. Dominguez was at this attendance in this meeting. When asked about it by Andrew Waite, she said it wasn't necessarily in particular. It was just another way for her to get involved. And then goes on to say, there isn't good reason to think that Mrs. Dominguez isn't being forthright with her, with her answers, with why she was there. And it says, in fact, she wants her true views to remain out of the public eye. As a school board candidate, the benign and vague messaging that Dominguez uses about transparency and school safety is much more muted than the aggressive advocacy in which she engaged leading up to her decision to run for school board. And this is an issue I have with local politics, is that all candidates are afraid to say take any real position on anything because of they're afraid to be attacked. And this is true for both sides. Every candidate, when they're running, I've talked to a lot of them, they start off with, I know they're going to come for me. And it shouldn't be that way. Our candidates, it's They're not getting paid. You're not gonna. It's not a power trip to be on the board of education. Everybody who's doing this is doing this because they believe in a higher calling and they want to do a civic duty. And they should not think that like these little 2-bit reporters, I don't know what they are, columnists, are going to come in and just and really paint them in a bad light just because they decide to do their civic duty. And an example I'll give is if you look at the other candidates, platforms, and I'm saying this is true for all candidates. Tony Crackler, talks about his, as a trustee, he wants to serve all the kids in the district. What he talks about, his platform is not getting into the day-to-day things, but keeping it on a macro level, which again, it's not really behaviorally. It doesn't state like, what has he done as on that board? What will he do? And I'm not trying to attack him on this. I'm just, painting that all candidates do this. Angetta, is that how you pronounce her name? Pardon me.
Jenna?
Angie?
Oh, Anjanette?
Anjanette, thank you. This is, she doesn't have a webpage. Her platform is, I am dedicated to keeping the board moving in a particular direction to support the district and the superintendent while holding them accountable and to give our students the best opportunities for a great education.
Oh, okay. Quick correction there one more time. Sorry. Emeka does have a website. It's not linked on her Facebook, but it is.
It's not linked on her Facebook page?
It's emekaforeducation.com.
Okay. All right. Well, it wasn't linked on her Facebook page, but if there's any more kind of meat and potatoes on her Facebook page, I guess, and Beth has the same thing where and Sharon and Joe do too, where people talk, these are behavioral interview questions where people should say what they would do, okay, and how they would do it or what they have done, not just these pie in the sky, ideas of, all right, everybody, I'm going to care for all kids and treat everybody equal and make our school, a great school. And that's all candidates do it. And again, because everybody's afraid to take a stand and say, hey, listen, I believe in school safety. I'm going to make sure we have SROs in the schools, right? Like, nobody really takes those kind of positions. So for this reporter to call out Sharon of some kind of, what's the word he uses? He uses a kind of a vague message is really, it's true, but it's true for all candidates. And I would say it's a little less true for Sharon and Joe because they are on record as saying they want schools to be safer and to make schools safer, they want SROs in the schools.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. For example, Sharon and Joe accepted an interview on Toga Talks. And this is actually a great opportunity for me to add that Toga Talks has reached out to every school board candidate to request an interview. And Joe and Sharon responded promptly, and Tony and Jeanette upon a couple messages for some of them, one for one of them, responded with a declination of the invite at the time. So I just want to clarify that Toga Talks has reached out to every school board candidate for an interview. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Right. So, it then goes to say, it says, Dominguez may have simply adopted a more subversive strategy, hiding true agendas behind rah-rah language like fair education for all. But that's what every candidate says. Every candidate has rah-rah messaging. They talk deeply about, the candidates go deep into what they have done, what their background is, but especially the candidates who are already on the board, you think they would offer some kind of, hey, this is what I've done while I've been on the board. There's not really nobody offers those things. And it's a shame. So then it goes into trying to connect Mrs. Dominguez to these cabals, as Jack Flash referenced, or these far right groups. And it says, after examining Dominguez's path to the current school board race, her candidacy be one small example of a larger effort supported by top Republican lawmakers and wealthy GOP donors to take over school boards across the countries. Again, where is any proof of this? There's nothing to say that these large conservative organizations are funding these candidates, because they're not. These candidates are parents in our district who are just stepping up to do their civic duty. And I wish there was. Believe me, if there was this big money conservative donors out there, call me up. I'll take some of that money and make it again.
That's pretty funny.
So, it's true. It says it's it then goes on to say. It goes on to paint, to say how Mrs. Dominguez was introduced to this gentleman from, I think it's like New York Safety or some conservative group, and it says she's, it kind of, if the casual reader would read this and think there's some kind of shadowy figure lurking around school board meetings that's that's pulling strings and connecting players to do these giant school board takeovers. Again, simply not true. So that's another issue I have with that, is that it states, it paints these candidates as being part of these organizations that they're not. So I guess the issue is, and I wish there was somebody to provide a counterpoint, but I'm constantly battling this issue, and I think it's evident by people not coming on the show, of these accusations in this article do not accurately. It's an opinion article, and there's no evidence whatsoever to back it up. So what it essentially does is, every candidate, this is how elections work in the city, right? Every candidate comes out, puts out vague statements because, nothing, no real policy, because they don't want to get attacked. And what the more liberal or left candidates do is they have people like this reporter, or columnist, I don't know what he is. They have him carry the water, so he's the one running the negative attack ads. So they hide behind, again, fluffy platforms that offer no real substance, and it is not about what they are going to do. These races devolve into kind of a media that's pushing an agenda, and the media pushing an agenda throws out, to quote your commissioner Montanino, they throw out red meat, and it whips this kind of far left into an hysteria. But there's fact or substance behind it.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right. And I actually, one specific point in this article that I'd like to ask you about is a little further down. Andrew Waite connects the Rob Arrigo, who is the former chair of the Saratoga County Libertarian Committee, to moving Saratoga forward, and to I'll find the quote here.
To the group Excellence for Education.
Yes, through Excellence for Education, and connects them to somebody who was brought in, a consultant of some kind, that is a Republican consultant for a political purpose.
Okay, all right. So this is what I'll say about that. The first thing is that there's Jack Flash. There's Moving Saratoga. There are these fringe kind of political blogs on Facebook that, in this day and age, with kind of a lack of when I was young, you picked up the Saratogian, that's where you got your news from. Now in the digital age, it's kind of it's difficult. There's so many different news outlets and ways to get information. So you have these two, Moving Saratoga forward, and what's going on Saratoga, Moving Saratoga forward, and Jack Flash. All right. The people behind those are anonymous. It says Rob Arrigo. The only way it connects Rob Arrigo to Moving Saratoga forward is saying he made some early posts in the group, right? So that's the opinion. That's not a clear fact that he's behind that, but it doesn't even matter. The fact of the matter is that Moving Saratoga forward is certainly promotes conservative ideas, and so if they share something that they're going to share things that are going to be right of these candidates, it doesn't connect anybody to this group. It's not, again, they're trying to paint this picture of these shadowy characters working behind the scenes that are trying to take over school boards by, big money, anonymous donors, and these, these hit piece, these anonymous Facebook pages. But it gives no proof to do it. Again, the political consultant. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess that's my question is less about Moving Saratoga forward. I mean, Rob Arrigo was the chair of the Libertarian Party. He clearly finds himself somewhere on the right. My question is more the attempt to make the connection that Waite does here with this political consultant, Arrigo, and Saratoga Parents for Safer Schools, which was a citizens group, I guess you could say, that was founded a few years ago, I believe 2019, or I guess that's 4 years ago, ballpark. And I guess my question is more centering around that.
there's a lot to that, but let me just answer this one way. What year was that?
Let me see. Quoted here, it says, regardless, we do know that in 2019, Arrigo brought in a high-powered conservative Republican political consultant to assist with efforts in the Saratoga Springs school election or school board elections. And it links to another Daily Gazette article about that, when that happened.
Okay, all right. So this is my point. What year are we right now?
2023, I believe.
2023. Yes, you are correct. So even if this is true, which it really offers, again, it goes back to offering proof of these. It makes plenty of accusations. Even if that is true, that was in 2019. That has nothing to do with this race, right? This is 22. You know, again, you have two independent candidates who they're trying to tie to this group who did something 4 years ago. Right. I mean, it's insanity. And that's why people don't want to come on and talk about the validity of hit pieces like this, you know, because there is no validity to it. You can't make this connection that, again, offer no proof. B was 4 years ago and stated as somehow Mrs. Dominguez is part of this, you know, cabal, as Jack Flash said, to overtake school boards. Listen, if it comes down to it, we should be able to have different opinions when it comes to politics. That's okay. I know, you know, Mrs. Dominguez and Joe Sabanos are pro SROs, pro police officers in our schools. And that bothers the far left. And what they do now is they try to make these accusations and connect these dots that aren't there. And they use kind of hit piece media to do it. I mean, I would direct you to even the article. There's an article today, and I don't like doing this because I don't like speaking negatively about other candidates. I think we should all focus on the candidates we support and why. But if you look at the article today in the Times Union that essentially states Saratoga is being run by children, it at least references things that our city government and our commissioners and mayor have done to support why the author is stating this, that it's run by children.
Yeah.
This does nothing to connect any of these dots, that any of these accusations. There's zero proof to any of them.
All right. Let me just for our listeners, let me create kind of a word map in their head about what the connections that Andrew Waite's trying to build here. So the former Libertarian chair, Rob Arrigo, right, allegedly runs this group known as Moving Saratoga Forward. He denied it to Waite, but the Moving Saratoga Forward has been connected to Excellence in Education in Saratoga, which was co-founded by Sharon Dominguez. So the connection here is Sharon Dominguez is connected to a group known as Excellence in Education, which is connected to a page known as Moving Saratoga Forward, which is connected to a person named Rob Arrigo, who is connected to this high-powered political consultant. And that is the connection that Waite alleges in the article. It also alleges a couple of other connections. But generally, that is the map.
Let's take it one connection at a time, okay?
Yeah.
And thank you for doing. I mean, I wish somebody from the other side would make these connections, because you know they have you carrying their water, because there aren't. The connection is, how is Excellent from Education connected to Moving Saratoga? Because Moving Saratoga, what's the connection there?
I can quote the article. Hold on. I'm kind of having to do the job of somebody who'd be defending this article. Just to make clear to I just want to make clear to my listeners that these do not reflect my personal policies or politics. I'm doing this purely so that Adam has somebody to argue with.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, I'll quote it here.
Thank you, and just while you're looking out, I appreciate it, because again, like I said, I wish somebody else would come and speak to this, so it would be more balanced. But nobody wants to step up, so take on this role. I'd be happy to poke holes in this all day.
Awesome. Okay, so Excellence in Education quickly received backing from Moving Saratoga Forward, including a May 2022 Moving Saratoga Forward newsletter linking to Excellence in Education's quote unquote 2 huge revelations about 9th grade English language arts curriculum and critical race theory, allegedly being taught in the Saratoga Springs district. Moving Saratoga Forward has also engaged with NY Informed. So NY Informed is another connection that Waite attempts to build in this article. And do you mind if I read a? Oh yeah,
one connection at a time. So essentially, what this is saying is a a kind of a fringe conservative Facebook blogger shared something from this group, Excellence in Education, right? So that's the connection. It was in a news he did a newsletter that and that he is based upon this unproven idea that this is Robert Riggio, but there was a newsletter done that maybe what did it do? It shared a statement from Excellence in Education, and it shared an idea. I'm not sure what what is that link right there? You want to read it one more time just so our viewers are clear of how he says that link is? It's about something about a newsletter.
Yeah. So here he says, let me find it one more time. All right. Excellence in Education quickly received backing from Moving Saratoga Forward, including a May 2022 Moving Saratoga Forward newsletter linking to Excellence in Education's 2 huge revelations.
Okay. Stop there. So it linked a newsletter linked to Excellence Education's revelations, and I think it's important to talk about these revelations, right? So that's that you see he quickly pivots off this connection, right? And he makes this accusation of this connection, right? That's by linking to a newsletter that or sharing something in Excellence Education. He then says, all right, this is nonsense. So let me throw out some trigger words, right? And so people don't really pay attention to what I just said and how nonsense it is. Let's throw out trigger words like and go on. So what were the 2 revelations?
About 9th grade English language arts curriculum and critical race theory allegedly being taught in the Saratoga Springs district.
Right. Okay. So now it's trying to say, this is the connection here is that, first of all, the revelations of 2019 had to do with this scorecard that was come up about your privilege. And an issue I have with the scorecard is that, something like if you get 200 points, you are considered privileged. Is this correct? 2019, you were my son's age, so you probably weren't paying that much attention.
2019, I was 11 years old, so no, I don't remember.
there was this scorecard about your privilege, right? And when I first started reading about this, if you were Jewish, you got the most amount of points. I think it was like 50 points. If you were any religion, I was raised Jewish, consider myself Jewish. I'm thinking to myself, great, us Jews haven't had the easiest walk through history. We get some extra points for being Jewish. There's a lot of anti-Semitism up there, but no, points are bad. This is like a golf game. So they're essentially saying just by being Jewish, you need to check how privileged you are. And I have a fundamental issue with that. And that leads into what we just saw in our middle school of what just happened, of how they brought in children and they made them identify if they were their sexual preferences. It didn't make them, but it encouraged them.
Can you expand on that, Adam? That specific point about the middle school, because that's relevant to now in this election. So I want to talk about what's going on. What is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So and this was, I got to tell you, when I first heard about this, I was thinking, boy, this does sound like a right-wing conspiracy. There's no way this happened. But a fellow podcast host had a child in a class where this happened. So this is firsthand knowledge, essentially, that this actually did happen. And so they brought the children in and they talked to the children and they sat them down and asked them to either stand up and be recognized or raise their hand if they were adopted, if they how they identified sexually, if they had somebody in their family recently pass away, if they were if they were black, and if they were from Africa. My issue is that I understand what they're trying to do, but the first problem is there's no transparency with the current school. Any information about this that parents would have to know, the school was not forthcoming with, it would have to be foiled. My second issue is that there was a student who had a parent recently passed away, and this parent was a hero, and the whole school know this kid's parent passed away. This kid's sitting there. This kid, so what's he gonna? He doesn't have to stand up. Everybody knows what his parent just passed away. What's he? And he's a seventh grader. He's not mentally fit to be able to handle a situation like this. So who knows? Maybe I could be wrong, but the school district does nothing right now to provide parents with the transparency of what's going on. So that's the same thing that happened in 2019 that I believe Excellence in Education had an issue with, that this, that a conservative Facebook blogger ran with. And so again, going back to these really shady connections, and then using these buzzwords that get people all fired up about, oh, they're going to take over our school and ban all our books. No, it's simply not that way. If you want to talk about whether there should be school resource officers in the school, let's talk about issues like that. But throwing out buzzwords and making connections where there aren't none is really doing our city a disservice. I mean, I can guarantee you that the three other candidates, right, the three candidates running together who are the more liberal candidates, they lose sleepless night as well. Are they going to wake up one? Oh, this is another issue I have. The way this article did, it used a very unflattering picture of Ms. Dominguez, which again, against any side, I've gone against Republicans for doing this. A woman's image should not be weaponized to discredit her or humiliate her. And so I'm sure these candidates, they go to bed at night hoping they don't, because I know I did. They go to bed at night hoping they don't wake up to a very unflattering image of an opinion piece, making wild accusations against them, forever kind of tarnishing their record, because this is blasted all over social media. It's blasted all over the news. And our local elections should not start off with a candidate first saying, I know they're going to come after me. And it happens on both sides, and it's wrong.
So can I talk about one more connection before we move on from this?
This article. Yes, you can.
This is the last, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can see here, this seems to be the last one. So the connection made here is that Sharon was at this October 28th meeting. And at the same time, a man named Chris Dubuque, who was quoted in this article with his full name, was at the same meeting. This man is a member of a group known as New York Informed of Saratoga County, which is part of a larger statewide organization with concerns over the school curriculum, CRT, and mask mandates and vaccine mandates. They've called for, apparently this statewide group that this man is connected to is calling for drastic reforms, including the abolishment of the federal and state departments of education. And then, so it is then connected to, Dubuque said that the membership in this group, so they talk about the group a little bit, and then they say that a photo obtained by the Daily Gazette depicts Dubuque huddled with a few Saratoga Springs parents, including Dominguez. And then Dominguez is quoted as saying that she told this meeting was when she was introduced to NY Informed. And under it says that Dominguez, who has 2 high school age sons, and said she has lived in the district since 2009 or 2007, denies that NY Informed or any other group influenced her decision to run, which she made this February. And the reason that I bring up the New York Informed is because they connect New York Informed to a group. So when they talk about Moving Saratoga Forward, they say Moving Saratoga Forward has also engaged with New York Informed. And they talk about a comment that they were engaged with. So it's another connection that's made. And then, of course, through Moving Saratoga Forward, they connected to Rob Arrigo, who's connected to this conservative consultant. So my question is really more focused on what is your opinion? It's closer to the start of the article of this Dubuque Dominguez
yeah,
connection.
I got it. So let me speak to this. So this you read it. I'll read it again. A photo obtained by the Daily Gazette depicts Dubuque huddled with a few Saratoga Springs parents, including Dominguez. She told me this was the first meeting when she was introduced to New York Informed. So Sharon is a concerned parent. She goes to a school board meeting. Okay, she has no idea about who this New York Informed is. Okay, she doesn't know who they are. She doesn't know their platform. And some, again, this goes back to that shadowy character introduces Sharon to this they're huddled in a corner, right? They're huddled, so essentially all that happened was there was a photo taken of Sharon talking to somebody who she didn't know who it was, right? That's the connection. That's the whole connection right there. is that there was a photo taken with her talking to somebody who she didn't know, and somehow now it goes on and it uses that connection to again promote this conspiracy theory that there's this big right-wing cabal trying to take over school boards, and so that's go ahead.
Can I quote the article about that, because there's a paragraph I'd like to read here.
Yeah, sure, please.
It says, in April of 2022, the statewide New York Informed Group, which currently has 4,500 Facebook followers, proactively recruited people for leadership positions with a post encouraging members to run for school board seats, including step-by-step instructions about how to register. And I really want to hammer in this point, because I want to hammer in this point in the Wait article. He strongly is pushing that Sharon's decision to run is either influenced or based upon another bigger group, and then basically spends the entire article trying to make that connection. So I want to clarify there that's the point, and why her connection to these groups. Welcome back, Adam. Sorry, a little more technical issues, but we're good now. So yeah, I finished my quote before we cut out, I believe. So can you talk about that with the New York Informed and this idea that these bigger groups are influencing local, parents' decisions on whether to run for school board and their agendas for running?
Sure. Again, I'll come back to the point of this makes this connection with Sharon with this group of there was a photo taken with her in a photo where it was admitted that she did not know who she was talking to, or she was just introduced who she was talking to. So the fact that they go from she was at a school board meeting, and I'm telling you, there's not many people at school board meetings. Sometimes there are. I've been to a bunch, but she's not a politician. She doesn't know who everybody is. At that point, she was just a concerned parent who was introduced to somebody, and there's nothing to show any connection after just this chance meeting where she was introduced to somebody. And that's the issue. It completely falls apart. There's no connection down here. There's a photograph again of her meeting somebody at a BOE meeting, and she's there as a concerned parent. I don't know about this group, honestly. I don't know what they do, and that's because they're not influencing school board candidates. They may have been back in 2019, but they're not doing it now. Or if they are, I'm unaware of it. So I wish we could just run our races. We could focus on what our candidates are doing. I wish our candidates would feel comfortable pulling out actual policy of what they want to do, or how they're going to, and give details of how they're going to do it. That's another kind of technique that the far left used against me when I was running. Is they would say, oh, I looked at her page. There's nothing there. There's there's fluffy rhetoric. There's nothing to how she's going to be as a BOE, a member of the BOE. But nobody has that, because nobody wants to. As soon as you put out a hard fact, you're going to have people attacking you for it. It's going to be twisted, like this article was twisted. So point to me, and if anybody can do this in Mr. Crackler or Anjanetta's
Emeka,
in their policy that shows what they've done on the school board, and that should get them elected again. It's not about these broad statements. It should be these behavioral interview questions about what have you done, or if this is what you were going to do, how do you plan to do it? And no candidates do it, frankly, except, again, I'll go back to school sword safety and the school resource officers, and this is how Sharon Dominguez and Joe Sabanos are going to keep our schools safe.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to clarify for our listeners, because you said this is what they did to me. So I want to clarify that you, Adam, you ran for elected office 2 years ago now, right?
Yeah, I ran as an independent candidate for the Commissioner of Finance, with the pie in the sky dream that America and more closely our city was ready kind of for a grassroots, nonpartisan take into how we govern ourselves, our cities, and our country. I think the two parties. I mean, if you look at what the two-party system's doing, it's giving us two candidates for president of the United States that nobody wants. Great, congratulations, Republicans. Congratulations, Democrats. We're going to have an election of two people who nobody wants as president.
Okay. Focusing a little more on the school board elections, I'd just like to go over some. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about with the article before we move on to our next section?
No, I think I covered it. And
Awesome.
what I would say about the article, if anybody wants to offer a dissent or
Yeah,
wants to
please come
disagree with
on.
me, yeah,
Come
you
on the
come on our
podcast.
podcast, you come on
Anybody
this
who wants to come on the
podcast.
podcast. I mean, we
But
need guests.
like you said, you went through I was working with you on this. You went through a lot of people who all declined, and some of them, there's one gentleman who politically I don't align with, and he gave the best answer of not coming on because he's got his own race to run. That's the one answer I do respect.
Yeah.
Why you wouldn't come on this and talk about these issues. But anyway, so moving on.
Yeah, so I'm going to go over the endorsements really quickly because I believe this may be our last show before Election Day. So just a reminder, folks, you can vote if you live in the Saratoga Springs City School District. You can vote on May 16th. That is this Tuesday, May 16th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can go to sscsdvotes.com. You can vote at your elementary school. So you can also apply for an absentee ballot at the high school. Awesome. So I'm going to go over some endorsements. You can share your thoughts if you'd like. So Crackler, Emeka, and Braxton have received endorsements from Gordon Boyd, candidate for Saratoga Springs supervisor, Capital Women, which is a women's rights pack, women's health pack in the Capital Region, CSEA 845.
Let me talk about Capital Women. One thing I liked about Capital Women is if you look at who they've endorsed, it's not about women; it's about political party endorsements. So I think that frames itself as a women's support, women empowerment group. I think if they were truly that, they should be objecting to using these photos of women to dehumanize them and invalidate their opinions. But
I believe Capital Women conducts an interview of all the candidates. If I'm not wrong,
sure they all do. But I also believe if you go through who their endorsements are, it's everybody running. It's all established Democrats.
Okay. Well, we have CSEA 8456, which is our local branch of the CSEA, which is a union.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that, and just because again they make these allegations tying Joe and Sharon to Republicans and big money donors, and they fall through. There is, as you stated, it's on the record that the other group, the other three candidates, went to the Democratic Party to receive financial support for them. I think this local Democratic Party committee right now is having a lot of issues with employment issues and hostile workplace issues in City Hall. So I'm a little surprised that CSEA would support the candidates with these, these candidates, and that is a connection, right? Unlike these kind of wild connections, the Mr. Crackler going to the Democratic Party, the local Democratic committee, asking for $1,000, that's tangible, that's a real fact. So the way that the Democratic committee and the Democratic candidates are, their relationship with their local CSEA employees in City Hall is a little on shaky ground right now. But anyway, that's they choose to endorse who they like.
Yeah. All right. So the Saratoga Springs Teachers Association has also endorsed Crackler, Emeka, and Braxton. So that's the teachers union in the district. They conducted interviews of all 5 candidates. And selected the joint ticket for Emeka, Crackler, and Braxton.
Yeah, and this is the issue I have with that, right? Is people see this as a good endorsement. The issue I have with that endorsement, I was talking to a former commissioner of finance last night, and I was talking to a former head of the fireman union, local fireman union. And we were talking, they had a very good relationship, but at times it was very difficult, right? And that's exactly how it should be, because the commissioner of finance is the steward of the city's finances. The head of the firemen's union, he's supposed to get everything, do the best for his firemen. You don't want them to be on the same team, right? Because the board of education, the teachers union is supposed to be representing the teachers. The Board of Education is supposed to be representing everybody and all the parents. So if they have this close relationship with the teachers, are they going to do what's right for the school and for the community, or are they just going to do what's right for the teachers? And so I think I as a parent and a resident of the city would actually rather see those a respectful distance between those two groups, because they have competing interests.
So yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, teachers union endorsements are pretty regular. This isn't an unusual instance. It's a
No,
pretty
no,
normal
it is
thing. Yeah.
regular. It is regular. And teachers, they absolutely, my mother was a teacher in the district for over 40 years. When she retired, she was the longest tenured teacher by, like the longest tenured employee of the district by like 5 years. And she did that because she loved kids. She loved going and she loves teaching. My point is that you need kind of certain separations of parties, right? Because there's competing interests, and there's a competing interest between what the board of elections goal is and what the teachers union's goal is. And if they are very it's like in business, you have a, let's take a hotel, right? I'm in the hotel business. You have in a hotel business, you have a general manager who runs the hotel, right? Underneath the general manager, you would have a comptroller. That comptroller is somebody who reports on the finances. The comptroller, even though they're below the general manager, they don't report to the general manager because that's too much of a conflict of interest. The comptroller would report to the ownership interest, because if the comptroller and the general manager are too close, that's the checks and balances, right? So the checks and balances between the teachers union and the members of the BO, the Board of Education, if they're endorsing each other, then are they how objective are these candidates going to be when it comes down to making hard decisions about teacher salaries, teacher benefits? How objective are they going to be if they just got an endorsement from them?
All right. So the last endorsement that Toga Talks is covering for the Crackler Emeka Braxton joint ticket is current Saratoga Springs Mayor Ron Kim, who has endorsed the three. And then, do you have anything to say about that before I move on to Sabanos and Dominguez?
I'll you know what, Mayor Kim's in a tough election right now. There's a lot going on in the city. I wish him the best. I'll let viewers decide what they think of that.
All right. So Sabanos and Dominguez have received the same endorsements because they are endorsed each other pretty early on into the campaign season, and at this point they are distributing I would call it a copy paste poster meme thing that has all of their positions, and some people repost it as a sort of endorsement. John Safford, very early into the campaign season, who is a candidate for mayor on the Republican line, has endorsed Sabanos and Dominguez pretty much immediately. Next is the parents group, I guess you could say, Saratoga Parents for Safer Schools, who have endorsed Sabanos and Dominguez. I
think that comes back to that SRO issue, which is so important. And it's important to point out that the two of the three candidates who are running together have voted against SROs in our schools. And I think, as a parent in our school, it's something I'm very passionate about, that we need police officers in our schools. I think a constructive conversation about having these police in our schools and the SROs would be talking about whether they should be in police uniforms, whether they should be in khakis and polos. But these are the conversations we should be having about how not everybody gets in their camp and sticks to their camp. It's more about, all right, the logic says it's good to have an armed police officer in a school for a multitude of reasons. Now, what's the best way to make that the most effective, and so that all kids can feel, no kids feel threatened or intimidated by that?
All right. The third endorsement for the Sabanos Dominguez ticket is former Saratoga Springs Mayor Meg Kelly, who has endorsed the two via a post on her Facebook page.
Meg Kelly was a multi-term, a mayor in the city. She's did a lot for the city, so I think that kind of carries some weight.
And the last endorsement that Toga Talks is covering for Sabanos and Dominguez is Liz Joy, who is the Republican candidate for our congressional district, which is New York 20, against Paul Tonko. She's ran against Paul Tonko for a few cycles now, and is planning to, as far as all of her campaign rhetoric has indicated, that she is going to run in 2024, and she has endorsed the two. That is all the endorsements.
I would be interested if this endorsement was something that was asked for and what the Mrs. Dominguez and Mr. Sabanos, how they feel about that endorsement, because I think from what I know about these two candidates, Liz Joyce certainly would have different values than these two candidates, but I can't speak for them. I'd actually ask them about
Sharon Dominguez reposted Liz Joy's endorsement onto her Facebook story.
Then I guess that would be a acceptance.
I suppose. Yep. So that's actually all we have today. Is there anything you'd like to talk about This is our last episode before the election. So anything you want to say to the voters out there, or anything you want to?
What I'd say to the voters is have vote not based on hysteria. Vote. Do a little research about these candidates. Figure out what differentiates them. For me, what differentiates them is this SRO. It's and having the school resource officers in the classrooms, in the schools. But don't focus on what you support about your candidates, because candidates they should not have to they should not feel like they're doing something bad, or they're going to be attacked, or they're going to be criticized and ridiculed for simply trying to step up and do a civic duty. And that's really the point I want to get across. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on.
All right, awesome. So yeah, my message to the voters is, whoever you support, however you support them, just vote, vote, vote is the most important thing. Our democracy depends on it. Without voting, we are, brutes wandering around with phones. So please vote. May 16th, Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at your local elementary school in the district, of course. Go to sscsdvotes.com. And if you would like more information about the candidates, 4 out of 5 candidates have filled out the vote411.org candidate survey. If you'd like to see what their positions and background are out of their
how
own
many
4 out of 5.
Who didn't?
Joe
didn't fill out
Joe didn't do it.
Well, yeah. Come on, Joe. Joe did come on your show, though, right?
He came on my show. Please watch the episodes. Okay. They're great. They're very entertaining. Okay. They're very
all right. Well,
informative.
I just I want to kind of give some balance there where the other candidates did not. So candidates certainly are free to choose what questionnaires they want to fill out. I know when I was a candidate,
that was valid of about like 7 hours ago. I'll check right now. Hold on. I'm like 90% sure he still hasn't filled it out. But yeah, the important thing here is that you got to vote for who you believe is best. And yeah, so thank you, Adam, for joining us. Joe still hasn't filled it out. Thank you, Adam, for joining, talking about this article, talking about the Board of Education election. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your opinions. If anybody else would like to come on to provide an opinion on either side, anything relating to the school board election, we have maybe one episode before the actual election. So please come on, reach out to me. I'm very flexible at time and dates. I can do it over Zoom. I can do it over person. I just love having guests on. So thank you, Adam.
All right. Keep on doing great things there, young man. It was really impressive. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing your career in politics. You're going to go far.
Thanks. All right. Thanks for listening. I will see you guys next